Today, we'll be taking a look at some of the worst missed putts in the history of golf. Let's begin. First up, Bernhard Langer's missed putt in the 1991 Ryder Cup. For anyone who likes to claim that golf is boring, the 1991 Ryder Cup is what they need to see. This was one of the most intense, drama-fueled tournaments in the history of the sport. There were shouting matches and arguments between players of different teams. The pressure was so high that even the best players were having a hard time performing, and honestly, it seemed like everyone was ready to get into a fight. This was not the situation Bernhard Langer wanted to be in during one of the most important moments of his career. The two-time Masters champion was head-to-head against Hale Irwin during the 18th hole of the course, and he needed just 1 point to secure the victory for his team. Normally, Langer is known for being one of the most calm and collected gentlemen ever to grace a golf course, but this time the pressure was really getting to him. He would have had to hit a perfect putt for the ball to go through, but the German legend was visibly trembling before the shot. The shot he needed to take was the kind of 6-footer that Langer had conquered numerous times in his career, but this time it went wide and above the ground, and because of this little mishap, Team Europe was knocked out of the Ryder Cup. This is one of the moments in Langer's illustrious career that stands out as one of his biggest failures, but you can't really blame him. Up next, Scott Hoch at the 1989 Masters. The 1989 Masters Cup was the most pivotal moment in Scott Hoch's career. He made his way to the final round of the tournament, already making it the best result he had seen in any major tournament to date. However, Hoch's sights were set on victory and glory. He didn't just want this to be the best performance of his career, he wanted to be the best player at the tournament. He was just 4 shots behind Ben Crenshaw, who was the overnight leader. With the help of a few successful birdies, Hoch managed to surpass Crenshaw. But when that happened, another obstacle appeared in Hoch's path to victory: Nick Faldo. Hoch and Faldo entered a playoff round that would ultimately determine the winner of the whole tournament. As we all know by now, Faldo is not an easy opponent to beat. He was easily the toughest challenger that was competing in the tournament, but for Hoch, this was supposed to be his night. Hoch was parked on the 10th green, and he needed 2 successful putts to eliminate Faldo. Unfortunately for him, he missed his first putt by only 2 feet. It was one of the most soul-crushing moments in the history of the Masters tournament, and Hoch would never get another shot at winning a major championship ever again. Coming up, Phil Mickelson at the 2019 US Open. This is one of the most recent missed putts on our list, and it's one moment that fans probably won't forget for decades to come. Phil Mickelson is undoubtedly one of the greatest golfers of all time, and he has been for the past 30 years now. However, there was always one event where Mickelson always failed to win: the US Open. He was the runner-up in 1999, 2002, 2004, 2006, 2009, and 2013. Yet, he has never won a single US Open tournament thus far. However, at the 2019 US Open, it seemed like it was finally Phil's chance to take the title home for the first time in his career. He started off really well at first, but things quickly took a downturn for him. During the 4th hole of the first round, Mickelson had to hit a putt that was only 18 inches away. Once he took the shot, the ball made contact with the lip, but it spun out, costing Mickelson the entire tournament. It was definitely one of his worst performances ever, and most people genuinely couldn't believe their eyes when they saw it. It was one of the shortest missed putts in the history of the PGA tournament. Mickelson will never let this moment down, and now that he's a part of LIV, he won't have another shot at competing in the US Open either. Next, Ernie Els at the 2016 Masters. Here's another recent putt, and this one might be even worse than Phil Mickelson. Ernie Els never really needed to prove himself. He's considered one of the greatest players in the history of the European Tour, but if there was one championship he never won, it's the Masters tournament. Els was the runner-up of the 2000 and 2004 editions of the Masters. He had come close to winning numerous times, but he simply couldn't do it. There are a lot of parallels between Phil Mickelson at the US Open and Ernie Els at the Masters tournament, and those parallels continue with this putt. Ernie Els had one of the worst putting spells in the history of the tournament, if not the worst spell. Just 2 feet away from the hole, Els missed 6 consecutive putts. For a guy with as decorated of a career as Els, this was unheard of. Not only did he miss all of those putts, but 4 of the 6 didn't even touch the hole. Whether it was the panic that got to him, or his eyesight suddenly decided to fail him. There's no excuse for such a horrendous performance from a guy like Ernie. Up next, Doug Sanders at the 1970 Open. It's always exciting to see whenever the winning shot comes down to a single putt. The pressure is usually so high in these moments that even the best golfers start to make ridiculous mistakes. During the 1970 Open, Doug Sanders was staring down one of the easiest putt shots ever seen in the history of the event. Making the shot would mean Sanders would win the entire event, but things didn't go as planned. Sanders was in a close playoff against Jack Nicklaus, who had just made a comeback of a lifetime. Even though Sanders would have numerous shots at making the putt, all of his attempts failed. Sometimes it would be too wide, other times it would be too low. No matter what Sanders did, he simply wasn't able to get the ball into the hole. This ultimately gave Jack Nicklaus the chance to take over Sanders' lead and win his second Open championship. Sanders would never make it to the finals of the event again. To this day, it's considered one of the biggest missed opportunities of Sanders' career. Coming up, Lee Westwood at the 2016 Ryder Cup. If there's one man that has a history of absolutely sucking at putts, it's Lee Westwood. He's the only player in history to rank #1 without winning a major, which isn't the most appealing record to hold, but it's something. Despite all of the missed opportunities to win a major throughout his career, it would be the 2016 Ryder Cup where Westwood had the biggest disappointment of his career. During the 17th hole, Westwood had to make a simple 5-foot putt, but when he tried, it was like he put no force into it at all. The ball did make some progress though, and with a smaller gap this time around, surely Westwood could make it. Even with his abysmal putting skills, Westwood is still a professional golfer at the end of the day. This was the kind of shot anyone could have made under pressure. However, when Westwood took the second shot, it was the same result as the first one. There was little to no force to speak of, and the ball just barely moved. He tried to play it safe, and it ended up costing his team the entire Ryder Cup. And finally, we have Tiger Woods at the 2019 WGC Match Play. If there's one person whose name is and will always be synonymous with golf, it's Tiger Woods. He's the greatest player of all time and has achieved everything a player could ever ask for. It's rare to see Tiger make any sort of mistake while playing golf, but the 2019 WGC Match Play was one of those rare moments. During the 18th hole of the Match Play quarterfinals, Woods was in a playoff against Lucas Bjerregaard. All of his work was cut out for him since all he needed to do was make the 4-foot putt to win the match. But shockingly, Woods missed the shot, and the 15-time world champion was eliminated from the tournament. It remains one of the most shocking putts that Woods has made in his career, a disappointing one at that.